My mom showed up with my sister's 3 kids and a lie and left me holding the chaos. It was a Tuesday afternoon when my mom rang my doorbell and dropped off Angela's kids without warning. 3 of them. A toddler in one arm, 2 school-age boys dragging backpacks and wearing oversized coats that didn't look like theirs. I opened the door expecting a hello, maybe a surprise visit, and instead, I got chaos shoved into my living room. "Jasmine," she said, breathless, "I just need you to take them for a little while." That was it. No warning. No call. No heads up. "Wait, what's going on?" I asked, stepping aside to let the kids inside. "Where's Angela?" Mom avoided my eyes. "She's in the hospital. It's not serious. Just a work thing. You know how she is. Always overdoing it." The toddler, Ellie, was already crying. My oldest nephew, Sam, slumped on the couch like it was the end of the world. Max, the middle one, stood silently by the window, like he was expecting someone to come back for them. "How long is a little while?" I asked. Mom glanced toward the street, like she was late for something. "Just a couple of days. I'll call you." And then she left. No car seat for Ellie. No overnight bags. Not even a backpack for Max. Before we go further, don't forget to like this story, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what happens next. Just 3 kids, confused and tired, and a 1,000-pound silence that settled in the moment my door closed. It wasn't the first time I'd picked up the pieces for Angela. We were close once, twins, even though we weren't born in the same year. People always said we looked alike, thought alike, finished each other's sentences. But somewhere around her 3rd child and 2nd failed job, that changed. Angela settled into struggle like it was a personality. Toxic husband, dead-end choices, emotional explosions that ended in silence and months of avoidance. Meanwhile, I built a business. I worked nights while getting my degree from Cuyahoga County Community College, started a skincare line out of my apartment kitchen, and ran a booth at local markets until I could afford a real storefront in Cleveland. I wasn't rich, but I was stable, calm, predictable, and that made me the emergency contact for everyone who blew up their own lives. That night, I tried to piece together the scraps of my sister's world through her kids. "Did your mom say anything before Grandma brought you here?" I asked Sam gently as we ate boxed mac and cheese at the kitchen table. He shrugged. "She was crying. Then Grandma came. Was she hurt?" Another shrug. Max chimed in, voice low. "She had bruises." I stopped mid-chew. "Where?" "Her arms. And her face." I swallowed hard. "And where's Troy?" "Their father. Angela's husband." The walking red flag we all tolerated because Angela always said, "He's just going through stuff." "He was yelling," Max whispered. "Then Mom said we had to go." Sam added, "Grandma didn't want to take us at first. But then she said it was better to come here." Better to come here. Those words sat heavy in my chest. Because they didn't just bring bags, they brought trauma. And no one had asked me if I was ready for that. By the time I put them to bed, Max curled up on the couch, Ellie finally asleep in my bed, Sam stretched out on an air mattress in the hallway. I sat on the floor of my living room and stared at the ceiling. Angela wasn't texting. Mom wasn't calling. And I knew, this wasn't just a couple of days. 3 days passed. Then a week. I canceled 2 vendor deliveries to the shop, missed a wholesale meeting I'd been planning for months. I told clients their orders would be delayed and watched online reviews drop from 5 stars to 3.7. No one cared that I had 3 extra kids in my care. No one knew. And no one, not even Mom, was answering my questions. Finally, after 10 days, I drove to Mom's house. I banged on her front door with the same urgency she had when she dumped the kids in my arms. She opened it like I was the one causing problems. "Jasmine, you could have called." I did call, and texted, and left voicemails. She sighed. "I've been busy." "Busy with what?" I snapped. "You dropped 3 children on me with no information. Angela hasn't even called once." "She's recovering," Mom said quickly. "From what?" Mom looked away. "That's private." I stared at her. Something dark curled in my stomach. "Was it him?" I asked. "Did Troy hurt her?" She froze. That pause told me everything. "Mom," I said slowly, "did he hit her?" She didn't answer. I stepped back. "Oh my God. She didn't want you to know," she whispered. "She thought you'd make it worse." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "She's in the hospital, she has bruises, and you're still protecting him?" She said it wasn't like that. "Then what was it like, Mom? What part of this is okay?" She said she tripped. I laughed, bitter and loud. Of course she did. Because women always just happen to fall down the stairs when they're married to guys like him. "She's scared," Mom said. "No, she's brainwashed." Mom's eyes flashed. "Watch it." "No," I said. "You watch it. You showed up with her kids, lied to me, And now I'm losing business trying to care for 3 kids I wasn't prepared for. And you're telling me to watch it? Silence. She couldn't look me in the eye. And suddenly, I realized something even worse than her silence. She knew. She'd known for months. Maybe years. And she covered for him. I'm taking the kids, I said, stepping back. I don't know how, and I don't know what this means yet, but I will not let them go back to that house. Mom opened her mouth to argue, but I was already in my car. Already planning my next step. Already preparing for the fallout. Because this wasn't a babysitting favor anymore. This was war. I didn't sleep after leaving Mom's house. I sat in my car outside my apartment until sunrise, gripping the steering wheel like it could hold me together. My thoughts ran in circles. Angry, terrified, protective, overwhelmed. Troy had hit Angela. That much was clear now. But the fact that Mom knew and still let it happen? Still defended him? That cut deeper than anything. It made me question everything I thought I understood about our family. How many times had I missed the signs? How long had Angela been hiding behind makeup and excuses? And worse, why didn't she come to me? The next morning, I texted my friend Lena, who worked as an ER nurse at St. Michael's, the same hospital Angela had supposedly been admitted to. It felt wrong, like I was crossing a line, but I couldn't just sit and wait. I needed answers. Real answers. Hey, I know this is weird. Can you check if my sister Angela Bennett was admitted last week? I think something bad happened to her. No one's telling me anything. Lena responded within an hour. Yeah, she was in the ER 5 nights ago. Checked in under a fake last name. Facial injuries. Dislocated shoulder. They wrote it down as a fall down basement stairs. But, between us, it didn't look like a fall. It looked like she was thrown. My stomach turned. Thrown. As in, by a person. By him. By Troy. I stared at the text until my hands started shaking. The boys were watching cartoons in the living room. Ellie was asleep on the couch wrapped in a blanket that still smelled like my sister's old apartment. Everything felt still, too still, and yet my heart was racing like a bomb was about to go off. I opened my phone again. I scrolled through old photos of Angela and Troy. Vacations. Birthday cakes. Filtered smiles. In one, Troy had his hand on the back of her neck, subtle, controlling. The kind of thing that looked affectionate if you didn't know what to look for. But I knew now. God, I knew. And suddenly, every late text she never answered, every panicked excuse she gave for canceling family plans, it all made sense. She hadn't just been distant. She was hiding. I called Mom again. She picked up on the 3rd ring. I need her address, I said. Jasmine, no. I'm done playing games. I know what happened. I know what she told the hospital. And I know why she's hiding. Silence. I'm not asking for your permission. Just give me the address. More silence. Then, finally, she's staying in an old motel off Route 2. Room 117. I didn't say thank you. I just hung up and got in the car. It took 20 minutes to get there. The motel looked like it hadn't been updated since 1985. Flickering neon sign. Cracked parking lot. Vending machine blinking out of order. I knocked softly. A pause. Then footsteps. The door opened an inch, and I saw her, Angela. She looked nothing like the sister I remembered. Her right eye was yellowing with an old bruise. Her lip was split. One side of her face looked swollen under a layer of heavy concealer. Jazz, she whispered. I reached out without thinking, touching her arm. Oh my God. She pulled back. You shouldn't have come. Are you kidding me? I pushed the door open wider. She didn't fight me. The room smelled like antiseptic and motel shampoo. One suitcase was open on the bed. A baby blanket, Ellie's, sat folded beside it. Why didn't you call me? I asked. I couldn't. You could. You just didn't. She sat down slowly on the bed. Her hand trembled as she picked at a tear in the comforter. I didn't want you to see me like this. I don't care what you look like, I said. I care about the fact that you were hurt and you let Mom cover for it. Angela winced at the word. She thought she was helping. No, I said firmly. She was helping him. Not you. Never you. Angela's eyes filled with tears. He said he was sorry. That he was drunk. That it wouldn't happen again. I dropped to my knees in front of her. He said that before, hasn't he? She nodded. Once. And that was it. That single nod cracked me wide open. She'd been living in fear for years. And I'd been sitting in my apartment, 5 miles away, thinking she just didn't want to hang out anymore. You're not going back, I said. I don't have a choice. You do now. I can't drag the kids through another custody fight. Last time, the court gave him half visitation even after the CPS report. They said it was inconclusive. I stared at her. You reported him before? She nodded again. When Max was 3, he shoved me into the bathroom door. Broke 2 ribs. Jesus, Angie, it went nowhere. No charges. No follow-up. The caseworker said I lacked credibility because I didn't leave him. I felt like throwing up. This system, this family, had failed her. And I was the only one left who could change that. We're going to fix this, I said, standing. Angela looked at me like she didn't believe it. I can't afford a lawyer. You won't need to. I've got people. I don't want to owe you. You don't. You never could. I turned toward the door. Pack what you can. You're coming home. Jazz, don't argue. I have the kids already. They've been asking for you. You'll sleep in my room. I'll take the couch. And tomorrow, we start over. She hesitated, then nodded. And just like that, she began to cry. Real tears. Exhausted ones. Not from fear, but from finally letting go. That night, Angela came home with me. The boys rushed her like it was Christmas morning. Ellie curled up in her arms and didn't let go for hours. And me? I made tea. Set the thermostat to 72. Told her she was safe. And meant it. I didn't go to bed that night. Not because I wasn't tired. I was exhausted, mentally and physically, but because I was too angry to sleep. Angela was safe, finally. Curled up in my bed next to Ellie, the boys asleep on the floor in sleeping bags I borrowed from my neighbor. The apartment looked like a tornado had passed through a daycare center, but I didn't care. What I cared about, what kept my chest tight and my fist clenched, was the fact that my mother had known all along. She knew what Troy was doing. She knew what Angela had endured. And she still chose to lie to my face. She helped cover it up. She brought those kids to my door with some rehearsed story about a work injury, thinking I wouldn't ask questions. And maybe if I hadn't pushed, if I hadn't called Lena at the hospital, if I hadn't demanded the truth, I would have never known. The next morning, I drove to Mom's house before the sun even rose. No warning. No text. No knocking. I let myself in with the spare key that had been sitting under her fake ceramic frog since the 90s, the same key I used in high school to sneak in after curfew. Now I used it to start a war. She was in the kitchen making coffee, wearing the same blue robe she always wore, like nothing had changed. You knew, I said from the doorway. She didn't jump, didn't flinch, just stirred her sugar in slow circles. You're early. Don't play dumb. She set the spoon down. I assume you went to see her. You let her stay in a motel, I snapped. You let her cover her bruises with foundation and sleep on a lumpy mattress while her kids cried for her. And you brought those kids to me like they were somebody else's problem. She asked me to. That doesn't make it okay. She didn't want to see you yet. Because she was ashamed. Because every time she reached for help, you made her feel like it was her fault. That got her. Her mouth opened, then closed. I was trying to keep things together, she said. No, I said. You were trying to protect your version of the family. The one where everything looks fine and no one talks about the rot underneath. You think it's easy? She snapped. Watching your daughter get stuck in a marriage she can't leave. You think I don't lie awake every night wondering if the next phone call will be the police telling me she's gone. Then why didn't you act? Because the second I tried to step in, she pushed me away. I stared at her. She didn't push you away. She gave you chances. She begged you. And you kept choosing him. She collapsed into a kitchen chair. For the first time, she looked smaller. Older. I didn't know what to do, she whispered. I thought if I kept the peace long enough, it would settle. He used to be so charming. So polite. I didn't want to believe he was that man. He was that man, Mom. And now everyone knows it. Even the kids. Tears welled in her eyes. She's safe now? Yes. She nodded slowly. Then maybe it's not too late. Oh, it's too late for a lot of things, I said. But not for me to make damn sure he never gets near her again. I stood to leave. Before I reached the door, she said, Jasmine. I turned. I'm sorry. I paused. Not because I forgave her, but because I finally heard her say it. I'm not the one you need to say that to. Back at home, Angela was up. She sat at the kitchen table in one of my oversized sweatshirts, her hair tied up, skin bare, eyes sunken but clear. You went to see her, she said. Yeah. Let me guess, she cried. Said she was doing her best. Blamed the world. She apologized. Angela scoffed. Too little, too late. You're not wrong. She looked down at her tea. Is it bad that I hate her more than him right now? No, I said. It makes perfect sense. Angela stayed in the apartment the rest of that week. I helped her file for a protective order. Lena connected us with a lawyer who worked with DV survivors for reduced rates. Angela started documenting everything, injuries, texts, voicemails. She was ready now. Ready in a way she hadn't been before. Because this time, she wasn't alone. And neither were her kids. But just when things started to feel hopeful, Troy showed up. Not at the apartment, he wasn't that bold. But at my store. He came in like he owned the place, sunglasses, smug grin, walking past customers like he was browsing candles. I was behind the counter restocking inventory. He leaned against the glass. "Funny place you've got here," he said. "What the hell do you want?" "I just wanted to talk." "Man, to whatever you are." "I'm calling the police," I said, reaching for my phone. "You think you've won something?" he said, eyes narrowing. "She always comes back. She's weak. She needs me." "You laid hands on her," I snapped. "You hit her. You're never seeing her again." He leaned in closer. "I've got dirt on her. Stuff I never told anyone." "You think the courts won't care?" "She abandoned her home. Took the kids. That makes her look unstable. Dangerous. You wouldn't dare. Try me." And then he left. Just like that. Slithered out like a snake who wanted me to know he could bite. I locked the store, pulled the blinds, and sat down behind the counter, heart pounding. He wasn't just a monster. He was strategic, manipulative, and now he was desperate. I went home and told Angela everything. She didn't cry. She didn't panic. She just said, "Then we fight harder." And for the first time, I saw her fire again. Not fear. Not shame. Resolve. It started with a 1-star review. Then 3. Then 10. Within a week, my skincare business, my pride, my blood, my grind was tanking online with back-to-back reviews that felt copy-pasted from someone with an agenda. Things like, "Owner is aggressive and unstable. Wouldn't trust her with anything. Poor hygiene in the store. Products are probably made in a bathtub. Disrespectful staff. Feels like a hostile environment. Do not recommend." All anonymous. All from accounts created within the last 30 days. At first, I thought maybe it was a fluke. A competitor. A troll. But then Lena sent me a screenshot from a Facebook mom group. Someone named Travis Hill had posted about me. About how my store was run by a bitter woman with a family vendetta, claiming I stole children from their father and used domestic abuse to manipulate the courts. Travis Hill. A man who didn't exist. But his profile photo was Troy, 10 years younger. Cropped at the neck. Posted in black and white like he thought no one would recognize him. The moment I saw it, something snapped inside me. This wasn't just about Angela anymore. He was coming after me. He knew the legal system was closing in on him. The protective order was processing. The custody battle was gearing up. Angela had an appointment next week to sign a statement for the DA. So now he was trying to burn my life to the ground. Because that's what men like Troy do. When they lose control of one woman, they go after the one who gave her a backbone. I didn't wait. I screenshotted everything. Called Lena. Called Angela's lawyer. Filed a digital harassment complaint with the Cleveland PD. But I didn't stop there. I pulled every receipt I had, bank transfers, text messages, screenshots of the time he sent Angela $40 and then berated her for 3 days when she didn't say thank you. Then I made a post. On my business account. Public. Honest. Brutal. Some of you may have seen false reviews posted here recently. I want to address them head on. The person behind them is my sister's estranged husband, a man currently under investigation for domestic abuse, harassment, and child endangerment. He's not just trying to destroy a small business. He's trying to punish the women who stood up to him. This store has always been a space built on resilience, truth, and healing, and we will not be silenced. If you know, you know. If you've ever bought from us, stood with survivors, or believed women when they told the truth, now's the time to speak up. Within an hour, the comments were flooded. Customers, friends, even strangers reposting the statement. Positive reviews poured in. People tagging advocacy groups. People sharing their own stories. The algorithm flipped on him fast. That same night, I got an email. No subject line. No signature. "You think you're smart. But I know where your sister sleeps. Where your niece goes to daycare. Keep pushing," and I pushed back harder. I felt sick. But I also felt done being afraid. I called the police again. Filed an official restraining order with both my name and my business listed. Gave them access to the store's security footage, which showed Troy lingering outside the front door after hours 2 nights earlier, hoodie up, pacing, watching. Then I called my cousin Chris, a former Marine turned security consultant. And just like that, we got serious. Security cameras went up around the apartment. New locks. Ring doorbell. A new, registered P.O. box for the store. Angela started walking the kids to school in groups, rotating carpool, staying out of patterns. And me? I watched. I waited. Because I knew Troy. And I knew he wouldn't back down until someone put him in his place. The next time he tried to contact Angela, through an unknown number while pretending to be a CPS agent, he didn't know the call was being recorded. Angela handed it straight to the lawyer. Within 48 hours, Troy was served with an emergency injunction. Within a week, the police were at his door. Angela didn't go to court alone. I sat next to her in that courtroom, in the same blazer I wore when I pitched my first investor 5 years ago. Confident, prepared, unshakable. Troy tried to look smug, but his face cracked when the judge asked why his voice was heard threatening his wife from a burner phone, and why security footage showed him stalking the store he claimed he never went near. He didn't even have a lawyer. He thought he could bluff his way through it. Turns out, he never stood a chance. The judge granted a full protective order. No contact, no proximity, no visitation rights until further investigation, and court-ordered anger management if he ever wanted to plead for shared custody again. But that wasn't even the best part. The best part? He was escorted out of the courtroom in cuffs for violating the prior emergency injunction. He stared at Angela the whole way out. She never looked back. Later that night, we sat on the apartment balcony. Angela held Ellie in her lap. The boys were inside, building a Lego spaceship and arguing about whose turn it was to pick the movie. She exhaled slowly. I can't believe it's over. I shook my head. It's not over, but it's ours now. She smiled. For the first time since this started, it wasn't a sad smile. It was peaceful. It was a Sunday afternoon when Angela decided she was done hiding. Not just from Troy, from everyone. The restraining order was in place. The kids were back in school, slowly settling into some kind of routine. She'd been seeing a trauma counselor twice a week and sleeping through the night more often than not. But there was still one thing she hadn't done. She hadn't told the rest of the family. Our aunts, our cousins, our grandparents, and especially Mom. Because the official version of the story, the one Mom told everyone, was that Angela had left Troy after a rough patch, and I was helping her get back on her feet. No bruises, no hospital, no police, just another bump in the road. A family misunderstanding. Angela invited Mom over to my apartment that day. Didn't tell her why. She just said, "Come for dinner. Jasmine's cooking." Mom arrived with a casserole and a smile like nothing had happened. She kissed the kids, complimented the curtains, asked about the weather. Angela let her play the part for about 20 minutes. Then she sat down at the kitchen table, folded her hands, and said, "We need to talk." Mom's smile faded immediately. Something in her mother sense must have clicked, because she froze in place, casserole half-served. What about? Angela didn't flinch. About what really happened. She told everything. Every slap, every shove, every bruise she'd covered up with concealer. How she'd lied to doctors, lied to the boys, lied to herself. How the CPS report had been swept under the rug. How Troy had dangled financial threats and custody battles over her every time she got the courage to pack a bag. And how Mom, our mother, had known, had seen the bruises, had answered the phone after the fights, had held her hand in silence, and then turned around and smiled for holiday photos with the man who was breaking her daughter's ribs behind closed doors. "I begged you," Angela said, voice shaking but steady. "I begged you to help me. And every time, you told me to think about the kids, or give him time to calm down. You made me feel like I was overreacting, like it was my fault." Mom sat in stunned silence. The casserole in front of her was untouched. Her fingers tightened around the edge of the dish like it could anchor her to the past. "I didn't know what to do," she whispered. Angela nodded. "That's not an excuse. That's a confession. I watched the woman who raised us, the same woman who once pulled me out of school to drive to a stranger's house because I scraped my knee and she couldn't stop worrying, sit there, completely hollowed out." She looked up at us. "Then, finally," she said, "I thought if I ignored it long enough, it would stop." Angela laughed bitterly. "Yeah, that's what I did too." The rest of dinner was quiet, tense, unreal. The kids ate in the living room. Mom picked at her food. Angela didn't touch hers at all. And I just sat there wondering how many other families are built on silence. How many women have swallowed their screams to keep the peace while the people around them looked away. The next day, the group texts exploded. Apparently, Mom didn't keep the truth to herself for long. Whether out of guilt, shame, or pure exhaustion, she told the family. And within 48 hours, everyone had an opinion. Some were supportive. "Why didn't you tell us sooner? We're so proud of you for leaving. Tell her we'll help any way we can." Some were not. "Are you sure it was that bad? There are two sides to every story. You should have worked harder to save your marriage." Angela ignored those ones. But I didn't. I called every last one of them. And I burned bridges I didn't know I still cared about. How dare you question her now? I told our Aunt Rhonda. Where were you when she had nowhere to sleep? To our cousin Daniel, who said Troy always seemed like a great guy, I said, "Yeah, abusers usually do." And to Grandma, who called to say maybe therapy would fix things, I said, "She is in therapy. And it's to undo the years of damage this family refused to see." Some of them apologized. Some didn't. But something had changed. The wall of silence was broken. Angela was no longer the dramatic one or the messy twin. She was a survivor, and she had finally told the truth. Later that week, she found an apartment just across town, close to the kids' school. Quiet, small, but hers. We helped her move in on a Sunday, folded clothes, built bunk beds, arranged sippy cups and kitchen drawers. It was the first time in years I saw her smile without effort. As we were unpacking, Angela handed me a framed photo from the bottom of a moving box. It was the two of us at age 9, wearing matching overalls and sunglasses, arms locked around each other like bodyguards. "You remember this day?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "We got in trouble for stealing ice cream sandwiches from the gas station." She grinned. "You said you'd always have my back." "I still do." "I believe you now," she whispered. I didn't expect her to show up. Not after everything that had happened. Not after Angela's confession. Not after the group texts. Not after every bridge she lit on fire with silence and passive excuses. But a week after Angela moved into her new apartment, Mom rang my doorbell. I opened it slowly. She was standing there with a grocery bag in one hand and a photo album in the other. No makeup. Hair pulled back. She looked like someone who hadn't slept in days. "I brought soup," she said quietly. "And some photos. For the kids." I stared at her, then stepped aside. Not out of kindness, but because this was a conversation I'd been waiting to have for years. She sat on the edge of my couch like she didn't recognize it anymore. Like everything in my home was foreign to her, or maybe like she was foreign now. She pulled a folded napkin from her purse and started dabbing at her eyes before I even said a word. "I know you're angry," she whispered. "I'm beyond angry," I replied. I didn't know what to do. "You keep saying that," I said, "but you knew what not to do. And you did it anyway." She opened the photo album, flipped to a page of Angela and Troy holding newborn Ellie in the hospital. "This looked so real," she said. "I wanted to believe in it. And so you protected that photo instead of the person in it." She nodded. Didn't argue. Didn't try to shift the blame. Just sat with it. "I was afraid," she finally said, "of what people would say, of the mess it would cause, of what it would mean if I had to admit I failed as a mother." I crossed my arms. "You didn't fail because Angela got hurt. You failed because you watched it happen and stayed quiet." She nodded again. And then she said the one thing I didn't expect. "I saw your father do the same thing to my sister when we were kids. And I did nothing then too." Silence. The kind of silence that drops like a bomb. She looked up at me, eyes glassy, hands trembling. I told myself I wasn't responsible, that it wasn't my fight, that people have to make their own choices. But I've been lying to myself for a long time. I sat down across from her, not to comfort her, but to face her. "Angela could have died, Mom. I know. She stayed with a man who threatened her, who isolated her, who hid her, because she thought no one would believe her. And she was right. Because you didn't." "I know," she said again. "I know I don't deserve her forgiveness." I didn't argue. I let her sit in that truth. She stayed for an hour, gave Ellie a new book, left the soup on the stove, hugged Max and Sam like she was afraid it would be the last time. Then she turned to me at the door. "I'm trying," she said. "I don't know how, but I am." I looked her in the eyes, and this time, I believed her. I didn't say, "It's okay," because it wasn't. I didn't say, "I forgive you," because I wasn't there yet. I just said, "Good," and closed the door. Later that night, I called Angela. She was lying on the couch in her new place, one of the kids' socks on her shoulder and a glass of wine in her hand. "She came by," I said. "Did she cry?" "Of course." Angela didn't say anything for a long time. Then, "I'm still not ready to see her." "I didn't tell her to come see you." "Good. But she's trying." Angela sighed. "I don't want her to try. I want her to listen." A month passed. Then 2. And slowly, things got quiet. Not the heavy, dangerous silence from before, but the kind that comes after the fire burns out. The kind that feels like healing. Angela started a part-time job at a local art studio. Ellie started preschool. Sam joined a soccer team. Max picked up chess of all things. Mom didn't come around often, but when she did, she came with open hands, not expectations. She brought groceries, helped with laundry, stayed in the background. Sometimes, that's all we can ask. One day, Max asked if Troy would ever come back. Angela told him no. And I watched something lift off his little shoulders that I didn't even know he was carrying. The truth is, families break sometimes. Sometimes slowly. Sometimes violently. But if there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's that silence is a disease. And truth is the only cure. Angela isn't who she was a year ago. Neither am I. Neither is Mom. And maybe that's the best ending we could ask for. Not perfection, but finally, something real. So let me ask you, what would you have done? If your own mother protected the man who hurt your sister, if your family believed in keeping quiet instead of standing up, would you have walked away forever or given them one last chance? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because sometimes the hardest part of surviving is choosing what to leave behind.